All right. All right. Hey, everyone. Talking about pictures in Microsoft 365 today, right? For those who do, in the instructional design field, obviously people are always talking, do we need to know Storyline and Articulate and all these different programs that are there to help us get better with, let's say, the whole e-learning side. But regardless of what position you have, in most places, Microsoft is going to play a big role in what you do, whether it's PowerPoint, whether it's Word, whether it's Excel, any of those. And knowing how to manipulate Microsoft and Microsoft 365 is going to be an important portion of what you should be able to do. So, with that being said, let me go and show you some ways we can make pictures work a lot better for us in the Microsoft products. All right, so with that being said, all right, folks. So thank you for joining me today. The little under the weather today, so it's not on my A game. So just want to give you the heads up on that one to start off with. This is actually going to probably be the last style of live stream in this format. Still going to continue to do the live stream. I'm kind of rethinking a little bit of how I want to do this. The whole goal of the live stream was really to kind of build a community to help share some of what I know and help you guys grow. And I've always not wanted to be just a talking head. So starting next week, we're going to roll out a different way of doing this. Still going to be noon. We're still going to cover topics within the L&D world. But I think what I want to do is I want to open it up more for questions that people may have. So I want to go through. We're still going to go through. We'll talk about a specific topic for the week, and then open it up, that may be 10 to 15 minutes. But then after that, open it up for question and answers. Whether it's questions you guys put into chat and then we can answer at that moment, or for those brave enough, who want to get on, I can share the link and you can join in and we can share the screen and just magic can happen. But one of these things, right? If we don't try different things and we don't grow, if we don't put ourselves, risk things, yeah, obviously failure could come up, but I think this is the next logical step. So, it's a long-winded way to say, things will be changing next week, and I think it's going to be for the better. If not, we can always back things out and try different things. So, want to just recognize at the moment, looks like Liz has joined in again from Nashville. Glad you're here. Again, I always say this, for those who haven't checked out Liz's live streams that she does on Wednesday on virtual facilitation and virtual training, you need to. Thank you, Karina. It's just one of those ones, like I don't know. I think it's the changing of the weather, right? It's New England, it's 60 one day, it's 22 the next day, you're not sure if it's going to snow. I think it's just kind of one of those things. But, all right, so let's actually talk a little bit about pictures, because that's what everyone tuned in for today. I know it's super exciting. Whenever I talk about Microsoft stuff, I'm always like, it's time to bring sexy back, right? Because it's really, none of this is sexy, but I think it's stuff that we actually should know how to do. First thing in regards to... First thing that we should kind of think about with pictures is just kind of understanding what they are, what types of images there are. And so for that, there's really two basic image types. There's raster images and there's vector images. So raster images, and over on the, I'm never good, on that side of the screen, whatever's over there, these are some of the main ones you'll see. JPEG images, GIFs or GIFs, however you want to pronounce that, PNGs. These are other ones that fall on this would be bitmap, TIFF. These are more, they're pixel-based images. So as you work with them, and if you try to expand them, they may start getting blurrier. They don't hold their shape quite so well. They're more compressed than most images or than other image types. So they're the ones that are they're more often to happen on websites because you can keep file sizes down. And like I said, they're pixel based. As an example, if I was to come, I think it's this one, right? GIFs, right? The animated ones that we all, or at least I tend to love, right? Those are ones that would fall into this. But the big ones like JPEGs, probably the one you're going to see the most. These are known as, it's a lossy file type. So each and every time you save this, if you do a file save as, like you find an image you like on the web, you do a right click, save as, bring it in. If it's a JPEG, the one you just saved is of a lower quality than the one you took off the website. If you save it again and you use it somewhere else, it's going to be that will be even lower quality. So JPEGs, it's going to be the most compressed, but it's going to give you the as the more you use it, the worse and worse quality it gets. Now, if you have one image and it's in a folder and you do an insert to your documents, and then you needed to use it again and you do an insert from there, that's not going to compromise the quality of it, but it's when you start kind of doing save ases and pulling those out. The other one I like to point out here, PNG. If you're doing pixel-based, PNGs are really nice because they can actually have a transparent background, right? So if we're in Word and we go in and we choose to save, if we want to insert an image and you use the stock images, which I'll show in a few moments, or I'm sorry, the insert images from the web, you can actually search transparent images and you'll be able to get something that doesn't have a background. So you can put it onto your slide or into your document and still have your own background. So PNGs are nice for that. The other main image type is going to be called vector images. These are math-based, so it's not individual pixels or dots. It's going to be truly it's an equation that's figuring these out. So they're infinitely scalable. Now, in terms of image types that fall into vectors, that the ones you're going to be most common are PDFs. And see, I'm pointing the wrong way again, right? Worst weatherman ever. PDFs. In Microsoft, their big vector graphic is an SVG. AI is the Adobe Illustrator one, which is probably the premier program for working with vector images. Other ones, EPSs, those would be vector images. But the big one on this is it's not a series of pixels. It's not a series of dots building out your document. It is truly a math equation, so I can grab it and I can make it as big as you want. As for PDFs, a PDF is an image. For those who use the Mac version of Microsoft, you can you can insert a PDF as an image. If you're using the PC-based version of Office, you cannot insert a PDF directly as an image type. There's a place where you can insert a PDF and it would insert the first page of that PDF as an image. But generally, if you're working with PDFs and bringing them into the Windows-based version of a Office product, you're going to want to save out each page of your PDF as an image and insert those in directly. All right, so I didn't want to overwhelm you with completely nerdy stuff today, but that's the big items in regards to image types. The other item to think about when it comes to images is PPI or DPI, pixels per inch or dots per inch. So it's basically this is kind of thinking in regards to the image quality. Obviously, there's image format, right? We just talked about JPEG, GIF, PDF, SVG, all of those. Those are going to depend on how big your size is, but also are your pixels per inch. And these will generally ranges from 72 to 330, 600. The larger that number is, the bigger the file, the bigger that image size is. So it's one thing I like to think about is what's my end result of where I'm putting my pictures, because if it's only going to be viewed online, that the lower a JPEG and at 72 or 96 PPI or DPI will work. Now there truly is a difference between PPI and DPI. Graphic designers can have deep conversations of this. For the everyday people, just using it, if you use PPI or DPI, you're going to be about the same. But if you go into the graphic design side, there is a true difference between those. But the main one, again, it's about file size and do you need something printed? If you need something printed, you want to make sure you have a higher number, so get in that 300, the 600 range. And then you want to be at a higher quality image, right? So you want to be at a TIFF or a PNG if you're in the raster images. If you're using a vector-based image, it really doesn't matter because it's infinitely scalable because it's that math equation. And the other thing to think of, just keep in mind, is that images within the default, if you were to go and save something as an image, let's say within PowerPoint you go and you convert a PowerPoint slide into an image, it's going to default it to 96. That's that for your PPI would be 96. Now, depending on the image type, JPEG, GIF, PNG, that can then affect how the overall look and feel, the size of that image. But by default, if you do a save as within PowerPoint, you are going to get 96 as your pixels per inch. All right, so that's my high level nerdery on this today. Just take a quick look about comments. Thank you. Hopefully you're talking about image quality and not just, not the moneymaker here, because that never looks good. But thank you, Liz. And Elisa, or Alyssa, hopefully I pronounced that right. Thank you for tuning in from New Jersey, and hope you have a good lunch. I don't. I got cereal today. It's the end of the week, right? The kids have wiped out the whole the kitchen cabinet. All right. So I wanted to have you come away with kind of three skill sets that you can look at and use today, and we're gonna look at it in terms of Word, but no, this functions within PowerPoint. It works within Excel, Outlook, those things as well. But I'm going to flip over here, and we're going to drop ourselves right into my Word document. All right, so we are now into Word. And the big one, and I think this it's one that everyone should kind of keep in mind, is about embedding or linking images in your Word document or in your PowerPoint file, right? So image size matters, or file size matters, right? How do we, where we're sharing our documents to matters, and so when we look at embedding or linking images in a document, it gives us control over what happens when we send the document to somebody else. It gives us control over how large our document is. So I've got a little bit of a sample set up for us. So just so you can see, I've got my files and folders, and I set up a folder, if I can find it, image for webinar. Okay. So I have gone in and I've created a series of images. And actually, I should have, in testing these out, I did not rename these. So I'm just going to rename these real quick. So that's going to be embed, that's linked. Okay, we should be good there. All right, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to, into my Word document, I'm going to embed an image, I'm going to link an image, and I'm going to do the embed and link it. And so you can see what happens when you go each of these ways. All right, so we're going to flip back over to Word, and we're going to come up, and I'm going to just come to the ribbon, I'm going to go to Insert, right? And then I'm going to choose Insert Pictures, right? And for right now, I'm going to insert from this device, which gives me the ability, the option to find where my file is. And so let me just go grab it from I pinned it to my quick access. So here's image for webinars. Okay. Now what I'm going to end up doing, the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to embed this image. So I'm going to highlight the image, and normally you just come down, right? You select the image, you come down and you select insert, right? And in this, I wish Microsoft used a different term other than just insert. So if I click insert right now, it's going to embed that image. And I can change this up by clicking that little down arrow, the little caret, and notice I have three choices now. I can insert it, and I would read insert is the same as embed. I can link to a specific file, or I can insert it or embed it and link it. So in this case, I'm going to insert the first one, and it's going to insert in my awesome picture. And I just really like this quote. I think it's Abe Lincoln's most important quote ever. All right, so this one was embedded. So I'm just going to write embed, and obviously you can see the, I put it on the picture itself. But now we're going to come back in, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to insert again. I'm going to insert a picture, go to this device. I'm going to choose my linked one. And now in the drop-down, I'm going to come down. I'm going to choose link to file, right? And that one comes in, and that's linked. And then let me just call that linked. And then we're going to do one last one for the embed and linked. So again, insert pictures, this device, right? I'm going to choose my embed and linked. I'm going to drop this down, and I'm going to do insert and linked. Right, so I've got all three of these now inserted into my document. All right, and I'm going to save my document. So we'll save it. It gives me a title, so sample embed. Just give it a simple name. Okay, so this document, it's all set up, right? I've embedded it, I've linked one, and I have embedded and linked the third one. So what can happen, and now let's go, and this is where, I guess let's just set this out. In terms of, if I just embed all my images, and I now need to go something's changed in my document, and I need to go back, and I need to update all the images. I have to go back into the document. I either have to remove delete out the image, bring it back in, or, if I right click on the image, I can change picture, and I can change it out this way, right? Change picture from a file and do all those things. If I've linked an image, not only is my document size smaller because the image isn't actually in the document, it's a hyperlink to the location of where that image is located. So my file size is smaller, and it makes it easy to update because I just need to go to the location of where that file is located, update the image there, and it will then update in my document the next time I open it up. The downside of this, though, is if I go and send this document to somebody else and they don't have access to where that image is located, if I've linked something and I've sent it off, it's going to be a broken image. They're not going to see anything. There'll be an error message. So if I embed and link something, my file size is larger because it's embedded. I can still make updates, right? I can go in and I can update the image at where it's located, and it will update in my document as long as I have access to where that image is. But if I don't, it would give me the original image. So I'm going to demonstrate this for you now. All right, so I have gone in, and you've noticed all my images are, it's just here. I've one embed, 2 linked, 3 embedded. So what I'm going to end up doing is here, I'll come in, and I got to go through it. I got to rename some of these images. So this was embed. Let me go and put a 1 at the end here. Basically, I just need to take my pig image, because why shouldn't I put a pig image? And I'm going to basically change the name of my new image to what my old image was, right? So this was one embed, and to keep that image, I just put a 1 after it, and I updated the image here to that name. And I'm going to do the same thing here. So on this, rename. There was probably a easier way for me to demonstrate this, but I couldn't think of it. So that's why there's a little bit of give and take in what we're doing here. Okay. And then this one, let me rename it. Okay. So I've made all those changes on these files, and I can now come over. All right, I haven't done anything other than when I've embedded these, inserted those images, whether they linked, embedded, or embedded and linked, and I saved it. So I'm just going to close out my file now, and I'm going to reopen it now. All right, so this was the file that I had chosen, sample embed. Right? So take a look. I didn't change anything else in my image. My embedded, even though I changed the file name in the folder for the embedded image, it doesn't update in my document because it's just straight up embedded. That picture of Abe Lincoln with his famous quote is in that document unless I manually go back and change it myself. The linked image updates and it changes, right? I've got a new image with that same file name because it's a link and it's linking to that file name in that location. I've got it. And currently, this document, my embedded and linked, because it still has access to it, it's giving me my new image. Now, the last part of this demonstration is I'm going to come in and I'm going to change the location of this folder. Really what I'm just going to do is I'm going to just rename it. Which is basically the same thing as, like, let's say the example here would be I've created a document, images are linked or embedded and linked, and the images were sitting on my system or in my shared drive, and now I've sent it off to a client, right? What do they see? Because they don't have access to where this folder is. All right, so I'm going to close this out one last time. Again, I didn't change anything. I didn't save anything. We're going to open that file up one last time. And now notice, so my embedded picture, still there, right? Because it's in there until I manually go through and change it. My linked image is missing. And it says the linked image cannot be displayed. The file may have been moved, renamed, or deleted. Verify the link points to the correct file and location. And lastly, on the embedded and linked, it doesn't have access to the updated image because that link isn't there, or that link is broken. But it's now still showing me the original image. So it's one of those ones. Is it better to not show an image at all, or is it better to show them the prior image? And it's just something to think about. But knowing how to do this is super important, or why you would use this. Especially if we're building training materials and you're looking at I need to go back and update images frequently. Screenshots change, right? This is where stuff like naming conventions come into play, right? How do we name our images so that we know when we need to make changes, how we do that, right? So if when I was in that files and folders, I knew I was just, obviously I was renaming things back and forth, but I got stuff in that same structure, and it updated into my document correctly. For those who are ever interested, we do offer, my company offers tools that helps you manage pictures. We do have things where we can quickly go through and change picture links. If you ever want to see that stuff, how that works, let me know and we can set up some time. So that was the big one I wanted to talk about today, was this change picture links. The other one that I think and it's something that we need to do a full-on session, and actually I want to bring in an expert into this area, but think about accessibility, right? How do we make sure whatever we're building is appropriate for someone who needs, accessibility? They need extra. I don't want to say extra help, and I'm struggling on the right terminology. But you want to make sure that everyone has access to the materials that you build. Some people, looking at pictures can be hard, right? That's where alt text can come in and be helpful. Microsoft's actually done a really good job with their alt text. Easiest way to get to alt text, if you highlight an image and right click on it, you can come down and right down here towards the bottom, we've got edit alt text. If you click on it, it will pull up the alt text pane over on the right hand, or on the left hand or the right hand side of your monitor, over my left shoulder. And Microsoft's AI does a pretty good job of giving you an idea of what it looks at the picture and figures it out, right? So it's a picture of Abe Lincoln, and it wrote a person in a suit. But obviously, and it lets you know this was automatically automated. But I can come through now and actually type in what I want this to say. Right? Image of Honest Abe. Right? And I could then put in, if I actually wanted to give the quote that's in there. And the idea here is if someone's using a screen reader, that they'll be able to, when it comes to this portion of the document, it would give you the image and it would say image of Honest Abe or image of Abe Lincoln, and read the quote. Don't believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a picture with a quote next to it. Right? So that's the, alt text, simple enough. How do we put alt text in on an image? Right click on it, select edit alt text, and you can do that. Doing it manually with in Microsoft, it's a manual process, right? You got to go to one image, right click, edit alt text, and then go to the next one, and so on. In our AuthorTech tools, we have an alt text one, which you can basically jump from picture to picture in a dialog box and push yourself through it. So again, if you're ever looking for, you've got $7 to burn and you want to add, you're doing a lot with alt text, our accessibility add-in is a huge benefit. That whole suite of tools up there, $40 for a lifetime use. But you want to do it on your own? Great. Right click, get into your alt text pane, and you can go through. And you don't have to, once you're actually in the document, if I have my cursor in the right spot, I can now scroll through and I could click on the next image and it would pull it up. So I don't once I have that pane open, I can get in and I can just keep scrolling through and clicking on the image. I don't have to right click on each one. I just have to click into the image, right? So I could come in and this is Abe Lincoln, right? And this one actually doesn't have anything. I could call this, that's my broken link. But now, as I go through, all of these have that accessibility, have the alt text. And just one other piece for accessibility, if you ever want to run your document through through Windows accessibility or through Microsoft's accessibility, if you go to the Home tab, right? So I came up. Actually, I'm sorry, it's not the Home tab. Go to the File tab, and you would come down to Info. You can come to this Check for Issues, and you can check for accessibility, and it will run through several different things to make sure your document's accessible. So not picture related, but accessibility is so important that, we were talking about it. I wanted to show you where that's at. All right. So we've talked about changing, inserting pictures, whether it's linked, embedded, linked and embedded. We talked about accessibility. The last one I really wanted to just point out today, because I think it's one that happens quite a bit, and let me scroll down and actually close this out. I'm just going to give myself a new page. All right. So let's say I have a whole bunch of text on my page. So I've got some text, and I want to insert a picture into my document. I want to bring in a picture, and I want it to, somehow work along the lines with this text that's on the screen. So, as with anything, when we insert a picture, it's always based off where our image is located. So I'm going to come up to Insert, go to Pictures, and actually, let's do this. We're going to do this. We're going to go Insert, and we're going to do Online Pictures, which is a feature within Microsoft 365. I think actually Microsoft Office will have it, but definitively in Microsoft 365, I can come up and notice I'm now getting the ability within Bing, so within Microsoft search engine, I can search for images. And if you remember when we were talking about those PNGs, we were talking about going through and showing you you could bring in transparent images. Right, so I could come in and I could type in, I don't know, let's say we wanted an image of money, and I wanted it to be transparent, meaning that I don't want any background on it. Right, and one of the things I always set mine up if I'm bringing in images from the internet, I mark it for Creative Commons only, which basically means these aren't. I could use those as long as I provide attribution. It's not something I have to pay for. But like here, let's use this, the 5, the 10, and the 20. If I insert that picture in, it goes in. Because this was, I chose a transparent image, it doesn't have a background, and so it looks like that those dollars are just sitting there on my white page. Right? So that's one thing is how you can get transparent images. But the other item that I really wanted to talk about today is when we have an image highlighted, how your image goes into your document. Like it's a setting within your Windows options. So I have mine come in, and what you'll see when you have an image highlighted, over on the right hand side, there's going to be there's a little box, and it's always showing a rainbow. A black rainbow or a black half circle, semicircle is probably a better way to describe it. But it's then showing you how it's coming into the document, how it's anchored. So I have it set up as the default is that it comes in line with text, which basically means where my cursor is, it's going to go in, and then the text is going to continue after that. But I can come through and I can choose other things, like maybe I want it to be square. And actually, so by putting it square, well, this would actually be better off. Let me do this. I'm going to copy this real quick. So I'm going to do Control X to cut it. So I have it, if I put in the image, right, and it's currently in front of text, but maybe I want it square. And what it will now do, let me zoom this out so you can see it, is it has brought in that image and it's put it inside the text, right? Or I can come in and I can choose this, and maybe I want it tight, and it starts wrapping my text around. So using how do we anchor, or how do we lay out this image, can give you a different look and feel within your document. Where you'll kind of see it a lot, if you ever find you've started building something in Word, you've made some changes, and now, for whatever reason, your picture is floated and it's no longer on the page you thought it's on, or where it was, it's now on a different page, it's because it's if we get in here and you look at the layout options, it's probably marked as in front of text or behind text. And so it's now not set to a specific location in the document. So that's, it's a big one to look at. The layout options, just, we can do it by right-clicking, or if we come up to picture formats, this is where we can get into, and why am I drawing a blank on it? Right here. So it's under the arrange. You've got position, and how do you want to wrap the text? Those two options. This is also on this picture format. This is also where we can open up that alt text tab as well, or the alt text task pane over on the right hand side. But those were the three big things I think everyone should kind of consider for this week in regards to pictures. Just taking a look, it doesn't seem like there were too many comments or questions coming in regards to this. Liz, thank you. Glad it was easy to understand. Sometimes what things goes on in here, it makes sense, but when you throw it out into the world, people are like, what are you talking about? So I'm glad to hear that it made a little sense. One of the things, what I'd love to, continue to have conversations with everybody in my network, people who are joining into this, right? Because the whole point of this was to help share a little bit of what I know with you, so that you could learn from it. Hopefully you guys are all smarter than I am, so I know you've got stuff that you can share with me. And so one of the things I've actually been looking at, and I'm trying to pull this thing up. So I have actually started using a program called Volley. And so I'm going to post this in. It's an asynchronous tool. I'm putting into chat right now. It's an asynchronous tool that allows you to have video communication, text communication. You can screen share. But what's nice is you can record a video, send it off, and then I could, later today respond to you. And so you're not having to do a Zoom meeting. You don't have to do a Teams meeting or all of this. It can happen when it works well for you and when it works well for me. So just wanted to put that out there because it's something I think I see some potential in it. Hopefully other people do as well. But please feel free to hit me up on there. And with that, I went about 8 minutes over what I generally like to come in on these lunch half hours. But hopefully you guys found some benefit to this, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week and see what you think about the new structure that we're going to try out. But as always, if you need anything, please reach out. Use that Volley. Hit me up on LinkedIn. My emails on my LinkedIn. If you were to dig into the details, my phone number's on LinkedIn. So, please reach out. I'm here to help. All right. With that, have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and I will talk to everyone soon. Take care.